I didn't think I'd be back so soon to talk about some of the more interesting cards, but they just released a couple today, and I was pretty excited to go over them. The first one is Cobalt Sticky Fingers. This is a card I wanted probably 2-3 seasons ago, of 2 expansions ago, whatever, when Kingsbane was pretty prevalent on ladder. This steals a weapon from your opponent. The way it's worded, I assume the weapon needs to be equipped on your opponent's side, and then when you play this, it comes onto your side of the board with how many charges the weapon has left. Obviously, this would have been brilliant against Kingsbane, so it's viable maybe in some of the pirate aggro decks. The only problem is it's a 5-mana 4/4, so it's quite expensive for an aggro deck, I'd say. But it's got a utility where it could provide them with extra damage. It being an odd cost, could be used in a odd deck, like Odd Rogue maybe. But I think this shines in a Reno deck as a tech card. You could steal Alanif in a Dead Man's Hand Warrior as well. And because you got Dead Man's Hand, you don't really care that you're power drawing with Alanif. It's got a lot of cool things you could potentially do with it, depending on what the meta is. Basing it off the current meta in Wild, Alanif is quite prevalent because there's a lot of secret mage. So stealing this, like I say, in a Dead Man's Hand Warrior lets you power draw for your deck, Dead Man's Hand stuff in. At some point when you need to get rid of the weapon, you can just overlay it with your own weapon. It was a card I didn't think they'd actually print. It's been discussed in the past, maybe having a tech card that silences a weapon, destroys a weapon, and takes it out of the pool. For Kingsbane specifically, or steal a weapon, and this is the one that they went with. Pretty happy. It's an interesting card, and it really could lend into an all-steel priest deck. Another neutral that was released after the video I just did is Transmogrifier. This is a 2-mana epic. Decent stats for a 2-drop, your typical 2/3. Whenever you draw a card, you transform that into a random legendary. It kind of reminds me of the legendary Warlock Archvillain card that turns everything into a legendary. Also like Golden Monkey in the past of Elise. But this, obviously, you need to draw the cards. So it's got obvious synergy with Plot Twist. You got Myra's Unstable Elements from Rogue as well. Or even just like tapping with this card could be quite good. Or you could set up a couple of draws if you have like Acolyte Pain on board. But I think it'll see some cool play in Warlock and maybe Rogue, but probably not. I'm also guessing that this would counter Hakar's Corrupted Bloods. It would counter the bombs. If someone's playing the Darkness, I'm thinking it will counter the Candles as well. And I'm wondering if this... It probably works with Scroll as well. Scroll of Wonders that you get from Mage. So this will be pretty fun to set up if you want to do some Scroll of Wonders in Mage. Play this and then try draw them out. They'll just transform into random legendaries instead of casting a spell, I assume. Same with Corrupted Bloods. You know, if your opponent's playing some sort of like anti-Reno tech, you could try counter that with playing Transmogrifier. That would be pretty cool to do. One that I missed is the Druid Legendary USERRA. So USERRA 2.0, if you want to call it that. It's the same stats, same mana, but this time it shuffles in 7 dream cards into your deck, and when they're drawn, it summons a dragon onto the table, a random one at that. This could be good in a Reno Druid dragon deck with Elise. And the reason I'm thinking that is because of a card that was also just revealed, the Alexstrasza 2.0, which if you have no copies, well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. And I think this is a good dragon to put in a Reno Druid deck. The randomness aside, dragon stats are pretty high. Obviously in Wild, you've got some farty ones like the Dragon Whelp, and you know you probably don't want most of the 3/6 dragons, but they're pretty well statted. Or Twilight Drake, you probably don't want Twilight Drake either. But there's so many big dragons that this card typically would get you a plus 5 power dragon most of the time. Lastly is Dragon Queen Alexstrasza 2.0. Again, same stats, except this time, if you've got no duplicates in your deck, it will give you 2 random dragons at 0 cost. The reason that this is quite cool and wild is because you could get EMRYS, the Hunter legendary. And the reason I said Dragon Reno Druid would be quite good is that if you have Elise, you can basically copy the 0 mana dragons that you get, and they'll retain that 0 mana buff, basically. So let's say you have an Alexstrasza for 0 mana, at least we'll copy another 0 mana Alexstrasza. So if you get EMRYS, this is like the dream scenario. You get EMRYS from it, you copy it a couple of times, boom boom, couple of 0 mana EMRYS is played. Suddenly you've got a giant hand. But just for pure value, this card in a Reno deck is ridiculously good. Probably less reliable in Wild, but overall I think this card's pretty high valued. You could also put it in like a Shudder Reno deck maybe, and just generate a bunch of 0 mana dragons to reload your hand or whatever. It's more fun than anything else. It'll probably have more of an impact on Standard. A little bit of an update on Skyshiv. I asked the question, would you be able to resurrect a card that has been Skyshived? Because you'd think it would take it out of the match. I believe we had that answered on Twitter, and you can indeed resurrect the card again. So if I were to Skyshiv a rag, Resurrect Priest would be able to resurrect that rag again. It doesn't actually take it out. But I think in one of these scenarios that I mentioned on Twitter as well, if I Skyshiv my own Vargoth before my opponent draws the Vargoth or puts it on table, I don't think he can resurrect it because it hasn't died. And I'm pretty sure that works like the likes of Overdraw or Gnome-Feratu. If the card hasn't died on table, I don't think it can be resurrected. So you can still Skyshiv a minion from existence if it's your own one and your opponent's running a copy of it. So I thought that was a little bit of a cool interaction. I'll test out all the interactions once all the cards go live. But yeah, thanks for joining me. Any more ones that catch my eye, I'll do little update videos like this, and I'll see you next time.